November 18, 1942. Above Henderson Field on Guadalcanal, a Japanese Zero pilot tightens his grip and stares south. Twin booms, twin tails, climbing hard from the American strip. He had been taught that no enemy fighter could outclimb a Zero. Yet the new arrivals are rising past him with frightening ease. He will report at Rabaul that night. His words will mark the first cracks in 3 years of Japanese confidence. Since December 7, 1941, the Zero had ruled the skies. China, the Philippines, Malaya, Pearl Harbor. The Zero's strength was agility and range, not armor. It could turn inside almost anything. It could cruise long distances on little fuel. Pilots like Petty Officer First Class Saburo Sakai and Lieutenant Junichi Sasai believed in that formula. Skill, lightweight, and the turning fight. They expected more of the same over Guadalcanal. Carrier-based wildcats, perhaps. Brave, but beatable. The reports about a new American fighter sounded absurd. 2 engines, heavy, too complicated. How could such a machine outclimb a Zero? Japanese doctrine prized individual combat and decisive battle. It had no language for what was coming next. Lockheed's P-38 Lightning answered a very different question. In 1937, the United States Army called for a long-range interceptor. Engineer Clarence Kelly Johnson designed a radical solution. Twin booms for twin engines. A central pod for the pilot and guns. The Allison V-1710 engines, each with a turbo supercharger, kept power at altitude. The Lightning could climb to over 40,000 feet. It could sprint at more than 400 miles per hour. It could fly over 1,000 miles and still fight. Early Lightnings were not perfect. In Australia, they arrived with teething troubles. Ground crews chased leaks and wiring gremlins. Pilots transitioning from P-40 Warhawks had to learn twin-engine procedures and high-altitude tactics. Compressibility in steep dives could lock the controls. The fixes would come, but even the first combat units held a latent advantage the Zero could not match. November 18, 1942. The 339th Fighter Squadron lifts off from Henderson Field to escort B-17 Flying Fortresses. Japanese fighters and bombers approach from the north. The P-38s do not turn and mix at low level. They climb higher and higher. The Zero pilots, used to dictating altitude, watch the Americans gain several thousand feet before the merge. Then the Lightnings roll over and dive. 4 50-caliber machine guns and 1 20-millimeter cannon in the nose fire in a single tight stream. No convergence guessing. No scattered hits. A short burst is enough. The Zero's great gift, its tight turn at low speed, means little when the fight begins above 20,000 feet and in a vertical plane. The P-38 pilots boom and zoom. Dive, fire, climb away. The first claims are modest. A few aircraft downed, but the effect is large. The Zero has met a fighter it cannot chase uphill. The numbers tell the story. The Zero's Nakajima Sakai engine makes fine power at low altitude. It fades with height. By 20,000 feet, the loss is severe. Its controls grow heavy above 250 miles per hour. Above 300 miles per hour, maneuvering becomes a chore. The P-38's turbos keep the Allisons breathing. The Lightning can hold energy at altitude and convert it into speed in the dive. Later, J-model Lightnings add hydraulically boosted ailerons for a quicker roll. Dive recovery flaps tame compressibility. The gap widens month by month. Japanese pilots feel the change as much as they see it. They had learned to counter the Wildcat with teamwork, using a weave to spoil attacks. But the Lightning strikes from altitudes where the lookout fails. Turbo-superchargers muffle the exhaust. Many Zero pilots do not hear the Americans until tracers flash by. Rumor turns into instruction. Intelligence summaries caution against duels with the P-38. Engage only with advantage. Do not chase uphill. Words that bruise a warrior culture. Saburo Sakai, the most famous of them all, speaks plainly. It is no longer possible, he says later, for the Zero to successfully engage the P-38 except under unusual conditions. His sentence echoes through mess halls and ready rooms. It is not cowardice to avoid this fight. It is arithmetic. Range changes the map. With drop tanks, the Lightning can roam more than 1,500 miles. It escorts bombers to Bougainville and beyond. It sweeps Japanese airfields at Rabaul and over New Guinea. American pilots choose when and where to engage. They strike, then leave. The Zero cannot be everywhere. Japan can no longer dictate the terms. April 18, 1943, draws a new line. 16 P-38s launch to intercept Admiral Isoroku Yamamoto. They fly at 50 feet above the ocean to avoid detection. They navigate by time, heading, and discipline. At the calculated minute, they climb. They find him descending to land. The Lightning pilots separate the escorts from the bombers, then pounce. Yamamoto's aircraft falls into the jungle. The mission speaks louder than any bulletin. American fighters can reach deep. They can plan to the minute. They can win against alert escorts and return home. Behind the cockpit, a larger machine is turning. American industry builds thousands of P-38s. Each block fixes a flaw. Cockpit heating improves. Intercooling improves. Roll response improves. The L model adds power and carries rockets for ground attack. The Lightning becomes not just a high-altitude killer, but a versatile weapons system. Japan struggles to respond. A revised Zero gains little. New twin-engine fighters arrive late, in small numbers, and with problems that cannot be solved in the field. Pilot training diverges as well. Early in the war, Japanese air crews are superb. Losses erode that core. Training hours shrink from years to months. New pilots climb into combat with too few hours and too little gunnery. American pilots arrive with hundreds of hours, advanced tactics, and gun camera film for study. They practice mutual support. Radios knit formations together. The lone hero gives way to the disciplined team. Survivability matters. A P-38 can limp home on one engine. Many do. A Zero is lighter, but it has almost no armor, and early models lack self-sealing tanks. A single hit often turns into fire. Over the open Pacific, that difference weighs heavily on the mind. Lightning pilots believe they can make it back. Zero pilots know a mistake can end in the sea. Records on both sides bear out the trend. Captured Japanese memoranda by late 1943 warn that the P-38 is the most dangerous American fighter in the theater. Avoid combat without advantage, they say. Meanwhile, American claims from New Guinea to the Solomons show increasing success as tactics harden. Major Richard Bong scores 40 victories in the P-38. Major Thomas Maguire scores 38. By war's end, the Lightning's tally in the Pacific passes 1,800 enemy aircraft destroyed. Night brings no refuge. A late-war night fighter version of the Lightning carries radar. It hunts after dark. The Japanese cannot field an answer. Even the calendar turns against them. The Battle of the Philippine Sea, the so-called Marianas Turkey Shoot, does not feature the P-38 directly. Yet the absence of veteran Japanese pilots there is the residue of earlier attrition. Years of losses against Lightnings and other American types leave empty chairs. Technology, training, and tactics. Speed, altitude, and nose-mounted firepower. The American approach treats air combat as a system to be optimized. The Japanese approach exalts the individual duel. Commander Masatake Okumiya will later admit the truth. Fighting spirit is not enough. Courage cannot overcome oxygen, horsepower, and planning. By early 1945, Japanese pilots no longer chase air superiority. They chase survival. They try ramming. They hurry new designs into service. Nothing restores the lost initiative. The skies over their own bases are hostile. The twin booms appear. The climb begins. The pattern repeats. Return to that first day above Henderson Field. A Zero pilot watches the Americans climb away. He has just seen the future of the air war. It does not turn flat. It goes vertical. It starts high and ends higher. The Lightning has arrived, and with it, the end of an era.